Hello and welcome to another episode of The Love Experiment. I am hugely interested in the power of love to change anything and everything for the better, no matter how impossible that looks with what's going on in the world. And this series is very much about inviting you to dive in with me, to see the possibility of that, to walk together in a place of love, not fear, and see what we can change, to play around with what is possible. So this series is a retreat for your mind, and built into this, in every episode, I'm going to be sharing with you, inviting you to look at the truth of who you are and the fact that the power behind life has our back and our future is secure. But let's look in the direction of love, not fear. So today I wanted to share with you a little analogy that just came out of my mouth one day when I was sharing and talking to people, and I've shared it a couple of times since, and it's quite fun, quite easy to hear, and a lot of people have been like, oh wow, that kind of makes sense. So as human beings, there is much more to us. If you are watching this video, if I am your person and you watch my videos, you're clearly on a spiritual journey. You're clearly looking at yourself to see there's more to just being human. And you know, how is it as human beings we've got into so much trouble? Why is depression and feeling down and anxiety and being scared, why are all of these things rife? Why are our young children suffering and hurting so much? Why is the world in the mess that it's in, and what can we do about it? What does looking in this direction do about it, both personally for ourselves and then for the wider whole? Because to me, that's what a spiritual awakening is about. One by one, each of us sees something more deeply, sees the connection, the oneness of all of us, and moves from a place of fear, a separation view of the world, a fearful view, and comes into viewing the world as having a more connected worldview, and that's what changes everything. So it is this, the story, the thing that I'm going to share today is really a metaphor for how do we lean into this deeper part of who we are? How do we allow ourselves to be guided with that? You know, what is that about? And to me, that's the whole spiritual journey. What is this about? It is about, what is this deeper part of us? What is this love, which is more than just falling in love with a person, having a partner and sharing your life. The love that I'm pointing to, coming from deep within us, coming from the truth within us, not fear. That's what I'm pointing to. So what is this? So the analogy that I'm going to share is a pantomime horse. So if you think of a pantomime horse, so there's always two people in a pantomime. It's a costume, and there is somebody who is the front of the horse and somebody who's the back of the horse. So if you imagine, before we came down here to be human, we kind of knew that we were going to be a part of this pantomime horse, and we as human beings are like the back end of a pantomime horse. We don't have our senses in the true sense, if you like. We don't have eyes, we don't have ears, we don't have smell, we can't do it. We are being guided, we need to follow. So we are like the back end of a pantomime horse. But before we came here to be human, we were aware of this. We took this on knowing what we were doing. We did this willingly. We willingly came here as the back end of a pantomime horse. And one of the reasons we did this was because we know who the front end of the pantomime horse is. And when you think of a pantomime horse, it is like two sides of a coin, or two things that are one. So the bigger part of us that stayed in the formless that is guiding us is part of us. It's not separate, rather like a pantomime horse. We're not doing this as separate. There's not God, or, you know, to me, God is the front end of the pantomime horse, and God isn't somebody up here sitting on a cloud in heaven who is completely separate from me. God is the front end of my pantomime horse. the allness of everything, mind, whatever word you understand as the power behind life, is the front end of your pantomime horse. And you knew that when you came here. You knew that you could completely trust in the eyes, the ears, all the senses, and more senses we don't even, as human beings, don't even know how they work or what they are. We knew we could trust that. So what happens when we get here as the back end of a pantomime horse, a part of this as well, is we totally forget that. So we get here and we think that we need to make the decisions. We think we need to be in control. We think we need to lead. But as human beings, we have, you might call it gut feelings, you might call it intuition, you might call it to a connection to something deeper than you. You might call it telepathy, you might call it a sixth sense, you might call it an inner knowing, you might, anything, whatever it means to you. It's like there is an awareness somewhere in you that there is more to you than this. And that's the front end of the pantomime horse. That's God. That's the love that I am talking about, that we can lean into and trust. And as the back end of a pantomime horse, who's probably, if you're anything like me, certainly I can only speak for myself, but what I know is I've spent my entire life trying to lead, trying to be at the front. And if you can imagine a pantomime horse, imagine if the back end of the horse, the back legs, were trying to lead, the trouble, the things you would bump into, the places you would fall down. I mean, it's hilarious when you think about it. So when you look at that, that's why we're in so much trouble here, because the back end of the pantomime horse is trying to be the front end. So our job is to learn to lean into, to move from the paradigm of fear. When you think of the back end of a pantomime horse trying to lead, they're doing it through fear, because they think whatever it is at the front that's leading them doesn't know where they're going. So with the eyes closed and no senses, the back end of the pantomime horse is trying to do this all on its own. So if we can, our spiritual journey, our spiritual awakening, knowing ourselves more deeply, knowing what our front end of the horse is so key to us thriving here. And we are absolutely here to have, I mean, a pantomime horse is a great analogy, because we are here to gallop around a stage and have a right old roaring laugh, to really enjoy ourselves, to love life, to live it to the full, and do whatever our pantomime horse is here to do. Because when I said about oneness and realizing that we are being guided is absolutely a part of realizing the oneness that we are a part of. But equally, we are also here as individual aspects of the divine. So each one of us as pantomime horses is our own pantomime horse. We're unique. There's only us that wants to do what we want to do. There is only us that is us. We have our own identity in that sense. And there's another analogy that I've heard and has really made sense to me, and that is, so we come here as our own unique back end of a pantomime horse. Each and every one of us different, with our own place that the front end of the pantomime horse is leading us personally, and nobody else is being led in the exact same way as you. Nobody else is going to see what you see, know what you know, do what you do, be who you are. That is unique to us. So we have that individual identity, if you like. So what it looks like to me is when we come here and we forget who we are, we accidentally create what I call a lie-dentity. It's like we believe we're the front end of the horse. We believe we know what to do. We believe, and all of that is coming from fear. So we create a lie-dentity for ourselves based in fear. And when we believe things about ourselves that are based in lies, like I have no guidance, I'm here alone, this is all on my shoulders, I'm not good enough, you don't measure up, the millions of things that our heads tell us about who we are, we have created a lie-dentity, which that lie-dentity will kill us. It's what gets us into trouble. It's what destroys us. And what we tend to do as we begin to spiritually awake is we recognize, we begin to see this, we begin to wake up to the fact that we have this lie-dentity. And very often the next thing we do is we create what I'm calling a my-dentity. We move into a space of knowing that there's more, knowing that there's more to us, but there's still a place where we think it's on us, and we are the ones. Our humanness is the one that is deciding what it is we want and what it is we want to do. And for me, as we lean into fully trusting the front end of our pantomime horse, we move into our God-entity. And that's our identity. That is the identity that we agree to, that God and us, the front and back end of this pantomime horse, before we were ever here, before we ever came here, that's what we agreed on. And it is like, oh, as we step into that God entity, out of our lie-dentity, out of our my-dentity, into our God-entity, that's when we do amazing and brilliant things in the world. And the amazing and brilliant things in the world can be, you know, we become a better parent, we become a better person to live with, we become a nicer person to go shopping with, we become who we truly are. And when each and every one of us steps into our God entity and becomes who we are truly here to be, fills our place in this, that's when we thrive. And the more of us that do that, the more thriving there is. The more people that are living out their lie-dentity, the more difficult it is to step into our God entity, because we are continually being pulled back into that fear. But each and every one of us, you have everything within you to do that. And if you're listening to my videos, maybe I'm a part of your journey. Maybe I am a part of that, because we are here to do this together. So you're not on your own. You're absolutely not on your own. The front end of your pantomime horse absolutely has your best interests at heart. And whether this video, my videos, are just something that you watch in passing that help you in that way, brilliant. Great, I love it. Or if you have an urge to reach out and look with me more deeply in this direction, great, then do so. You will know, because you have everything inside you that you need to move from your lie-dentity through your my-dentity into your God entity and fully live and thrive as you out in the world. Live from love, not fear. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was a bit of fun. Feel free to drop me a comment. Tell me what you're getting from these videos. Share this. Living from love is really something that we need to do together. And do check out the show notes, because we've always got tons and tons of things going on, and it would be great to have you involved more deeply. Have an amazing day, and I will be making another video soon. You can count on it. Bye for now.